Hello from Mindset Daily, wishing you a day full of health, peace, and happiness. Thank you for watching the Mindset Daily channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to support us. Thank you so much.
What if the people closest to you are only there because they needed something? Have you ever noticed how quickly some relationships fade once you're no longer useful? Let's talk about the quiet moments that reveal the truth about someone's soul. Let me tell you something about human nature, something most people don't truly grasp until it's far too late. You don't really know who someone is until you're no longer of use to them. When your hands are empty, when your phone goes silent, and your value becomes invisible to their world, that's when their true character finally steps forward. Not during your high points, not when you're shining bright and surrounded by applause. The real test comes when the music fades, when the spotlight turns off and the room goes still. That's when the masks fall. That's when the truth appears. Anyone can be kind to you when they want something. That part's easy. It's convenient. A smile costs nothing when someone's trying to benefit from your presence. But pay attention to what happens when there's nothing left for them to gain. When the favors run out. When the stage goes dark and your season changes. Do they disappear? Do they treat you like a burden? Or worse, like you no longer exist? That's the moment you see behind the curtain. The moment when character reveals itself without the costume of convenience. We live in a world full of transactional relationships. People are drawn to what you do, not who you are. They admire your success, your image, your results. But rarely do they see or value your soul. As long as you're useful to their goals, they'll stay close. But the second you stop serving their ambition, the connection fades. They treat you like a temporary tool, something to use and then discard. But don't mistake that for love. Don't call it friendship. And never confuse it with loyalty. Because it's not. That's not love. It's self-interest wearing a friendly disguise. But here's the key. Don't get bitter. Don't let it harden your heart. Let it teach you. Sometimes God allows people to walk away. Not to hurt you, but to help you. To show you what they were really standing for. He removes what's fake so you can stop pouring your energy into something empty. It's not punishment. It's protection. God isn't trying to break your heart. He's trying to set it free from attachments that were never real in the first place. So when you enter a season where things feel dry, when the cheers quiet down and the support suddenly disappears, don't panic. Pay close attention, because in that silence, truth begins to echo, louder than words ever could. Sometimes, it's the absence that reveals more than presence ever did. The way someone leaves your life often tells you far more than how they first entered. Isn't that revealing? The energy someone brings when they walk away. Whether it's silence, indifference, or even disrespect, uncovers the depth or lack of it in your connection. If someone only showed you love when you were useful to them, then maybe it wasn't love at all. Because here's the truth. If someone can walk away from you easily, they were never walking with you deeply. Their loyalty was surface level. Their commitment was seasonal. They were never meant to carry the weight of your purpose, only to stand near your platform for a time. But here's the mistake we often make. We chase. We beg. We shrink ourselves to keep temporary people in places that were always meant for something lasting. Don't do that. When God removes someone, it's not about rejection. It's about redirection. He's guiding you away from what's holding you back and moving you toward what's meant for your growth. I've seen people change faces like changing outfits. One day, they're in your corner, and the next, they can't even pronounce your name. And I've stopped being surprised by that, because I've learned real love isn't proven while you're standing in the spotlight. It's proven in the dark, when you're quiet, when you're tired, when you have nothing to offer. So who checks in when you've gone silent? Who still sees your worth when you can't even see it in yourself? Who believes in you? Not because of what you can do for them, but simply because of who you are? Those are the people to hold close. Those are the people to trust. Because discernment, learning who truly belongs in your life, isn't just useful. It's essential. Not everyone who claps for you is truly celebrating you. Not everyone who stands beside you is genuinely standing for you. Some people are simply close enough to catch the overflow of your blessings, not to help you carry the weight of your burdens. And the moment those blessings stop flowing in their direction, their loyalty dries up just as quickly. That's why it's so important to surround yourself with people who love you for your scars, not your spotlight. People who don't just celebrate your victories from afar, but who are willing to sit with you in your valleys. The ones who show up not only when the miracles are pouring in, but also when all that's left to hold on to is raw faith and unshakable hope. That kind of presence, that's not popularity. That's character. That's covenant. That's the kind of connection God honors. So, if you're in a season right now where certain people are walking away, don't let fear or self-doubt creep in. Don't question your worth. Sometimes, losing people is part of finding your purpose. Because as your light grows stronger, it naturally reveals what was hidden in others. The brighter your calling shines, the clearer you see who is drawn to your glow and who is truly connected to your soul. And if it feels like you're standing alone right now, let me remind you, you're never truly alone. God stands with the pure in heart. He walks beside those who choose integrity, even when no one's watching. When the crowd fades away, he steps in. When others let go, he holds you even closer. You're not being abandoned. You're being aligned. And that alignment is preparing you for something greater. So don't be afraid to release the ones who were only meant for a chapter, not the full book. Let them leave in peace. Let them go without resentment. Because if their love was conditional, based only on your usefulness, then their absence is not a loss. It's a blessing in disguise. And here's something powerful to remember. You can learn a lot about a person by how they respond when you finally say, enough. When you stop twisting yourself to fit into their mold. When you stop saying yes just to keep the peace. When you stop minimizing your voice just to keep them comfortable. That's when their true colors begin to show. It's not when life is running smoothly that people show their true colors. It's when you draw the line and finally protect your peace. That's the moment you begin to see clearly. Was their presence in your life rooted in genuine love, or was it based on subtle control? The truth is, healthy boundaries don't push away good people. They only bother the ones who are there for convenience, not commitment. And when you begin speaking up, when you start valuing your time, your energy, your space, and your voice, you'll notice a change. Some people will grow distant. Some will quietly slip away. Others might even accuse you of becoming someone you're not. But the reality is, they were only ever comfortable when you were silent. That's the paradox of boundaries. They don't just protect your well-being. They reveal the unspoken expectations of others. When you finally say, I'm not allowing this anymore, you're not only protecting your soul, you're uncovering the truth about theirs. Those who genuinely care about you will honor your growth. They may need a moment to adjust, but they'll respect your right to evolve, to say no, to prioritize yourself. But those who have been taking advantage of your kindness, they'll push back. They'll call your strength selfish. They'll twist your clarity into arrogance and label your self-respect as rebellion. Why? Because your boundaries challenge their entitlement. They're no longer getting the version of you who sacrificed your peace for their comfort. And that unsettles them. But hear me, setting boundaries is not betrayal. It's not an act of rebellion. It's an act of love. First and foremost, love for yourself. Then, love for those who are meant to walk beside you in truth. Because when you treat yourself with respect, you're teaching others how to treat you as well. So if someone leaves because you stop being their emotional crutch or their backup plan, let them go. Don't chase after that loss. Don't mourn something that was never meant to remain. God didn't give you a voice just so you could stay quiet in the face of manipulation or guilt. Your boundaries are not walls, they're gates. And not everyone is meant to pass through them. I've seen it time and time again. Someone finally finds the courage to speak up, to walk away from dysfunction, to draw a firm line in the sand. And almost instantly, people they once considered friends begin to vanish. Family members grow cold. Coworkers suddenly keep their distance. And yes, it hurts. It cuts deep because you truly believe those bonds were rooted in care. But the truth becomes clear. They weren't rooted in love, but in your silence. And it's in that sting, in that moment of clarity, that the real lesson emerges. You begin to see that love without respect isn't love at all. It's possession masked as affection. Peace, you realize, isn't found in constantly saying yes to everyone. It's found in learning how to say no with grace, with confidence, and with self-respect. More importantly, you come to understand something powerful. Anyone who feels threatened by your growth was never invested in your well-being to begin with. They were comfortable with your smaller, quieter version, the one that didn't ask for much, the one that kept the peace at their expense. Boundaries, as difficult as they may be, test the true nature of a person's heart. You say, "I need space," and suddenly you're either supported or shamed. You say, "I can't keep doing this," and you're met with either compassion or guilt. That reaction, it's not random, it's revelation. It's truth peeling back the curtain, showing you exactly who they are when you're no longer easy to use. But even when that truth is hard to face, you've got to hold steady. Don't let the discomfort drag you back into old patterns. Don't confuse someone else's disappointment with your disobedience. You weren't created to make everyone happy. You were called to walk in truth, even when that truth separates you from those who can't embrace the healthiest version of who you're becoming. God will never ask you to shrink, to silence yourself, or to sacrifice your identity just to keep a relationship intact. He calls you into wholeness. He calls you into clarity, into sacred spaces where love is mutual, not manipulative. And when God tells you it's time to draw the line, don't be afraid of who walks away. Instead, give thanks for those who choose to stay. Because that remnant, that faithful few, those are your people. They're the ones who love the real you, not just the easy version of you. The version that doesn't always smile, that sometimes struggles, that dares to grow. And I want you to hear this clearly. It's okay to outgrow what once felt like home. It's okay to evolve beyond what once defined you. Because growth, it comes with a cost. And sometimes that cost is people. But here's the truth. Growth may cost you some company, but it will never cost you your peace. When God brings you into a new season, He doesn't just shift your surroundings. He often clears the space first. He empties the room before He fills it with what truly belongs. So don't panic when the chairs around you are suddenly empty. Don't mourn the ones who left when you finally got honest with yourself. Sometimes, what feels like loss is actually addition in disguise. Sometimes, subtraction is God's way of making room for better. And if you're wrestling right now, if you're in that emotional fog that follows finally standing up for yourself, remember this. Your worth isn't defined by how much pain you can tolerate. It's defined by how deeply you honor your own soul. That's where your power lives. Let people say what they want. Let them twist the story to suit their comfort. You're not responsible for their peace. You're responsible for your purpose. Anybody can be bold for a moment. It's easy to show up strong when the lights are on, when the emotions are high, when there's an audience clapping. But true character? That's revealed in the moments when no one is watching. It's not measured in flashes of passion, but in quiet consistency. Because consistency reveals what commitment only claims. I've seen it time and again. People enter your life full of noise and promises. They're all in for a week. They post you, praise you, celebrate you when everything is exciting. But when the spotlight dims, when your life gets heavy, or your path gets quiet, they slowly fade into the background. And you're left asking yourself, was any of it even real? But here's the thing. The answer is never found in how someone begins. The truth always shows in how long they stay. Consistency is the quiet, unglamorous proof of real character. It doesn't come with fireworks. It doesn't make headlines, but it remains. It checks in long after the celebration is over, long after the crowd is gone. It's the friend who hears the words you didn't say that truly matters. The one who doesn't need the spotlight to stay loyal, who doesn't wait for applause to be faithful. That's the kind of character that endures, the kind that doesn't change with the seasons or fade with shifting circumstances. Let's be honest, emotional highs aren't the same as spiritual depth. We've often confused a burst of passion with long-term purpose. Just because someone loves loudly in the beginning doesn't mean their love runs deep when it really counts. In fact, some people only know how to love when it's easy, when it's exciting, or when there's something in it for them. But the moment that spark dims, when it's no longer fun, when it's no longer about them, their loyalty starts to vanish. That's why you have to watch the patterns, not just the promises. A one-time grand gesture can feel meaningful in the moment, but it's the quiet consistency that truly tells the story. Don't be fooled by temporary intensity. Real love is steady. Real loyalty isn't loud, it's faithful. It shows up when it's inconvenient. It leans in when it's uncomfortable. It keeps showing up again and again, not because it has to, but because it wants to. Anyone can sprint when the road is smooth. But the true test? That's in a marathon. The long, quiet, grueling parts of life when the excitement has faded and the routine has taken over. And if you really want to understand who someone is, don't just listen to their words. Watch them. Watch how they handle the mundane. Watch how they act on the days that don't feel special. Notice how they behave when the thrill has worn off and there's no crowd cheering them on. Because the people who only show up for the drama, for the fire, for the emotional highs, they won't be the ones who walk with you through the slow storms, the subtle trials, the quiet battles that life inevitably brings. But the ones who remain steady, they're not always loud, but they're always present. And that quiet presence, day after day, speaks louder than any grand declaration ever could. God isn't impressed by emotional fireworks that burn bright and then vanish. He's looking for hearts that burn consistently. Hearts that keep showing up in prayer, in service, in truth, and in love, even when it's not seen or celebrated. It's the people who don't need a stage to stay faithful. The ones who don't sway with every shift in circumstance because they're anchored by deep conviction. That's what real character looks like. That's the kind of person who carries real weight in the kingdom. Consistency doesn't always feel powerful on the surface, but in God's eyes, it is. It's the mother who keeps praying for her child, even when it seems like nothing is changing. It's the husband who remains faithful, even when the marriage goes through dry and weary seasons. It's the friend who continues to check in, even after being met with silence. It's the mentor who pours out wisdom, even when no one says thank you. These are the people who embody true character, not the ones who come in with noise and fade out with silence, but those who endure with quiet strength. I know what it feels like to be let down by people who started strong but vanished when you needed them the most. I know you've watched promises fade into excuses and support turn into silence. And maybe, just maybe, it made you question your own worth. But listen closely. Their inconsistency does not define your value. It only exposes their truth. So don't take it personally. Take it as clarity. Take it as wisdom. Let it teach you to build with those who don't just speak loyalty, but live it over time. God will often allow inconsistent people to cross your path, not to harm you, but to teach you what consistency truly looks like. He'll expose the flaky, the fair weather, and the easily distracted. Why? So that when the real ones come along, the ones with staying power, you'll recognize them, you'll treasure them, and you'll never again settle for presence without perseverance. And maybe as you're hearing this, you're quietly thinking about your own journey. Maybe you're beginning to recognize the patterns in yourself. How you started with fire, only to let it fizzle out. Maybe your loyalty has been driven more by fleeting emotion than steady endurance. But hear me, that's okay, because this is not about shame. This is your invitation to shift. God isn't asking for perfection. He's asking for direction. He's not grading your performance. He's guiding your path. So start again. Reset your heart. Choose to be the kind of person who doesn't just begin things with passion, but finishes them with purpose. Be the one who doesn't get blown over when life gets stormy. Stand firm. Stay steady. Because the power of your impact won't be found in bursts of intensity, but in quiet integrity. It will be found in your ability to do the right thing. Not once, but again and again. Because anyone can be great for a moment. But who are you consistently? That's the real measure of character. And let's be honest. Some people will see your kindness and mistake it for weakness. They'll assume that because you're gentle, you must be gullible. They'll confuse your patience with permission. And if you let them, they'll keep draining your spirit, leaving you exhausted and wondering what went wrong. That's why one of the truest tests of character isn't how someone treats you when you're strong and loud, but how they treat you when you're kind and quiet, when you choose to listen instead of argue, when you extend grace instead of retaliation, when you hold back not because you're unaware, but because you're wise. Some people will misread that. They'll assume you're blind to the games being played. They'll think they've won simply because you didn't speak up. But what they fail to see is this. Silence is not the same as ignorance. Sometimes silence is wisdom in motion. Sometimes it's strength under control. Sometimes silence isn't surrender, it's sovereignty. The way someone responds to your kindness reveals everything about their integrity. It shows who they truly are when no one is watching. It's not just about how they treat you in public, but how they honor your presence in private. Do they cherish the gift of your patience? Or do they treat it like it's endless and expendable? A person with genuine character won't exploit your kindness. They'll protect it. They won't drain your energy. They'll match it with respect. They won't take your love for granted. They'll wrap it with responsibility and care. But those who lack character, those who are driven by convenience, not conscience, they'll use your kindness like currency. They'll treat it as a free pass to do as they please without accountability. They'll lean on your forgiveness not as a path to healing, but as a habit. And over time, they'll push boundary after boundary until your soul feels worn thin and your peace begins to disappear. So let me remind you, being kind doesn't mean you owe anyone unlimited access to your heart. Forgiving someone doesn't mean you must keep standing in a line of fire. Some of the most damaging people in your life aren't the ones who hurt you once and walked away. They're the ones who hurt you repeatedly, quietly, hiding behind your good heart. They know you'll give them another chance and another and another. So they never change because they've never had to. Your compassion became their cover, but it never became their conviction to grow. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having a soft, good heart. Don't let the world convince you to harden just because others were reckless with your softness. The answer isn't to stop loving. It's to love wisely. Be kind, but be clear. Be generous, but stay grounded. Love deeply, but never at the expense of abandoning yourself. Sometimes the most spiritual, self-honoring thing you can do is to stop allowing your kindness to become someone else's excuse for remaining broken. God didn't bless you with a gentle spirit so you could be trampled on. He gave it to you as a reflection of his own heart, a heart full of grace, patience, and love. But even God sets boundaries. Even he says, enough. Even he steps back when grace is consistently rejected. So when you're dealing with someone who repeatedly takes your goodness for granted, don't let guilt keep you stuck in a cycle of self-sacrifice. Don't let the fear of being misunderstood, of being labeled cold, mean, or too much keep you from walking away from someone who only takes but never gives. Kindness is not naivety. It's clarity wrapped in compassion. And real love always tells the truth. If someone continues to disrespect you and still feels safe in your presence, then somewhere along the way, your silence became their permission. Being kind doesn't mean being passive. It means being strong in spirit and soft in tone. And true strength knows when it's time to draw a line. Real strength whispers, I can love you deeply, but I won't allow you to damage me. Real strength knows that being Christ-like isn't about being crushed. It's about walking in wisdom, discernment, and unwavering truth. Not everyone has earned a front row seat to your heart. Some people, no matter how much you care, need to love you from a safe distance because they've already shown they can't handle you up close without harming what's sacred. And here's the part that stings but sets you free. When you finally step back, when you create healthy boundaries, those who benefited from your lack of them will say, you've changed. Let them say it. Let them twist the story if they must. Because what they're really saying is, you stopped letting me use you. And that reflection says more about them than it ever will about you. Their reaction is not your responsibility. It's not your truth to carry. You weren't created to be consumed by people who only take. You were created to love boldly, but with balance. To give freely, but without abandoning yourself. To reflect the love of God, not through constant sacrifice, but through strength, clarity, and boundaries rooted in grace. You serve not out of obligation or chaos, but from a place of clarity and intention. Your giving is no longer driven by guilt or pressure. It flows from a heart that's aligned with purpose. And if anyone ever asks, why don't you give like you used to? Look them calmly in the eye and say, because I finally understood what you were doing with what I gave. There's a quiet power in that kind of realization. You learn a lot about someone by watching how they handle power, and not just the obvious kind that comes with a title, wealth, or a platform, but the everyday power we all hold. The power to speak life or destroy it, to lift someone or tear them down, to cover someone in grace or expose them in shame. We often talk about how character is revealed under pressure, and that's true. But here's something just as important. Character is also revealed when you're in control. When the ball is in your court, when you could hurt someone and still be justified, when no one would question your actions. That's the moment that truly reveals who you are inside. It's easy to talk about mercy when you're the one who needs it. It's easy to praise grace when you're the one on your knees. But the real measure of a person is how they behave when they have the upper hand. When someone else stumbles and you're still standing, do you reach down with compassion? Or do you point fingers and pass judgment? Do you use their moment of weakness as a mirror for your past or as ammunition for your pride? I've witnessed people who were gentle and humble when they were struggling. But the moment they got a taste of status, be it recognition, a raise, or attention, they transformed. They forgot the hard nights, the desperate prayers, the kindness they once received. And instead of using their new strength to build others up, they used it to tear others down. They let pride slip in and call it self-confidence. But real strength? Real strength doesn't make a scene. It makes a difference. It's not about showing off. It's about showing up. The ones with true character are the ones who never forget what it feels like to be broken. They remember the weight of weakness, and they carry others with grace. Not because they have to, but because they've been there too. They remember exactly how it felt to be overlooked. They don't mock others for their struggles, because they've lived through those same storms. They know firsthand what it means to need mercy, not judgment. And over time, they've learned this simple but powerful truth. Just because you hold power doesn't mean you have the right to crush others with it. If you really want to understand someone's true nature, watch them closely when they're given the chance to retaliate. See how they behave when they're face to face with someone who once wounded them. Do they strike back? Do they seek revenge and shame? Or do they take the higher road, even when it's the harder one? Now don't get me wrong. This isn't about letting people walk all over you. Not at all. Boundaries are sacred, and self-respect is necessary. But there's a fine line between protecting yourself and punishing someone just because you have the power to. One doesn't require the other. Remember the story of David and Saul in that cave? David had every reason to destroy Saul. Saul was chasing him, hunting him down with a mission to kill. And yet, even with the perfect opportunity in his hands, David chose to spare him. Why? Because David's heart was anchored in something far greater than revenge. He knew that just because he could do something didn't mean he should. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. That's what restraint looks like. That's what true character sounds like in the silence of a decision. Some of the most defining moments in your life won't be about the words you speak, but the ones you choose not to say. The clapbacks you hold back. The truth you could expose, but choose to protect. The doors you close quietly, even though every part of you wants to slam them shut. Those quiet decisions, that's when heaven takes notice. That's when God whispers, now I can trust you with more. And hear me clearly. Just because they hurt you doesn't mean you need to hurt them back. Don't let bitterness become the pen that writes your story. Don't let past pain shape your present reaction. The person who hurt you, they've already shown you who they are. Now, your response gets to reveal who you are. Because you're not responsible for what they did. You're responsible for how you respond. And when someone lies about you, that doesn't mean you need to lie back. If they expose your flaws, that doesn't mean you have to throw dirt on theirs. When you're faced with a chance to get even, take a pause and ask yourself, will this reflect my healing or my hurt? Because sometimes the greatest form of revenge isn't a comeback. It's peace. It's choosing not to carry their chaos. Sometimes, the best response is no response at all. And often, the most powerful move you can make is to walk away with your dignity intact, without saying a single word. You don't have to sink to their level just to prove your worth. You don't need to show your strength by flexing it. People who are truly secure in who they are, they don't waste time proving anything. They let time reveal the truth. They let actions speak louder than arguments. And most importantly, they trust that God will handle those who try to tear them down. Your integrity, that's your covering. Your ability to hold back when you could lash out, that's real strength. And your character? It's not measured by how you treat people when you're weak. It's revealed in how you treat people when you have every opportunity to crush them and choose not to. That restraint, that discipline, that grace, that's your testimony. So don't trade your values for a moment of ego. Don't exchange your purpose for petty power plays. You were created for more, for leadership, for love, for influence that lifts, not destroys. And make no mistake, the day will come when someone's fate is placed in your hands. Maybe it'll be someone who deeply hurt you. Maybe it'll be someone who let you down, who walked away when you needed them. Maybe they won't even deserve your kindness. But in that moment, don't let bitterness lead your actions. Let grace lead your heart. That's where real power lies. And if you truly want to see someone's character, not their image, not their charm, but who they really are, watch how they treat the people who have absolutely nothing to offer them in return. That's where the truth comes out. Not when they're impressing the boss or working a crowd. Not when they're on stage or shaking hands in the spotlight. No, the real test shows up in the everyday. It shows in how they treat the waiter bringing their food, the janitor sweeping the hallway, the child who stutters, the elderly woman struggling to cross the street, the stranger who simply needs help and has no way to repay it. That's where the mask drops. That's where the heart is revealed. We live in a world consumed by status, by influence, platforms, followers, and likes. But true character? It's never revealed in the noise. It's not found in the spotlight or in the filtered perfection of social media. No, it's discovered in the quiet spaces, in the small, often unseen decisions no one claps for. When someone chooses kindness not because it earns them something, but simply because that's who they are, right there, that's when the heart speaks loudest. You've probably heard people justify their behavior with phrases like, "It's just business," or "That's how the world works." But here's the truth. Character isn't flexible. It doesn't adjust to fit convenience. It doesn't shift based on who's watching or what can be gained. You can't turn integrity on and off like a switch. If you show kindness to the powerful but turn cold to the powerless, that's not kindness. That's manipulation wearing a friendly face. The uncomfortable reality is this. Some people only respect others who can open doors for them. They only appear when there's a benefit waiting. But if someone can completely ignore another human being just because they carry no influence or social capital, that's not ambition. That's arrogance. That's pride disguised as professionalism. And let's be clear, you can't claim to love God while looking down on his people. You can't speak of grace and then walk right past someone struggling without even offering eye contact. That's not conviction. That's convenience dressed up like character. The real ones, the people with depth, with soul, with integrity, they don't need an audience to do good. They don't need a camera to show compassion. They stop for the broken. They see the invisible, and they choose to listen even when there's nothing in it for them. They do it not because they're trying to be heroes, but because they remember what it feels like to be overlooked, to be forgotten, to be small in a world that only seems to notice the loud and the flashy. They don't just talk about love. They embody it. They live it in the moments no one ever sees. Like the man who gives his jacket to someone freezing on the street, or the woman who quietly pays for a hungry child's meal, expecting nothing in return. These aren't grand gestures made for praise. They're quiet echoes of compassion, rooted in empathy. The teenager who helps the elderly man carry his groceries without pulling out a phone to record it for likes. That's real character. That's who you are. Not your title, not your resume, not the names you can drop or the things you've achieved. The true measure of your character is found in what you choose to do when there's absolutely nothing to gain. when the moment isn't transactional, but simply an opportunity to be kind. I've seen people cover up deep insecurity with smooth charm. They flash their brightest smiles at the wealthy, but roll their eyes when the poor walk by. They bend over backward for someone with a big name, yet treat the janitor like they're invisible. Let's be honest, that's not excellence. That's arrogance, dressed in expensive clothes. And the truth is, it doesn't last. Eventually, it cracks. Because while people look at appearance, God looks at intention. He doesn't just notice what we do, He cares about why we do it. He weighs motives, not just motion. He evaluates hearts, not highlight reels. But I've also seen the opposite, and it's powerful. Quiet souls, humble spirits who don't chase attention. They're not loud, but their love runs deep. They remember your name when no one else does. They show up early, stay late, and treat everyone with equal dignity, whether you're CEO or someone barely making it through the day. That is real power. That is strength. That is what leaves a legacy. So let me ask you, who are you when there's no reward waiting? Who are you when nobody's watching, when there are no cameras, no stage, no applause? Can you still offer grace when you're not being thanked? Can you still serve when it doesn't boost your profile? That's where the gold is. That's where the eternal things are forged. In silence, in secret, in sincerity. Because often, God doesn't place people in your life to test them. He places them there to test you. That person who has nothing to offer in return, that's your moment to sow seeds heaven will notice. That child who needs just one word of encouragement, that's your invitation to speak life. That elderly man needing someone to slow down and show care, that's your chance to reflect Christ, not through speeches, but through service. Don't let this noisy world trick you into thinking greatness is found on stages or platforms. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is care quietly and love deeply. True greatness isn't measured by how you treat people who can benefit you. It's measured by how you treat those who can't do anything for you in return. It's in how you speak to the ones who hold no influence, the ones who can't elevate your career or expand your platform. It's found in the quiet moments, when no one is watching, when there's nothing to gain. Because that's where your real character shows. That's where your legacy is built. Think about it. How do you carry yourself in rooms where there's no reward waiting at the end? When there's no camera, no spotlight, no audience, do you still choose kindness? Do you still walk in humility? That right there is what echoes far beyond this life. Not your resume, not the titles you wore, not the accolades you collected, but the way you loved, the way you listened, the way you made someone feel seen, even when the world overlooked them. And when the time comes for each of us to stand before the one who sees it all, the one who knows not just our actions, but the intentions behind them, He's not going to ask how many followers you gained or how many deals you closed. He won't care about your image, your influence, or your income. He'll ask something far more profound. He'll ask how you treated the ones who had nothing to offer you, how you showed compassion to the forgotten, how you responded when the only thing on the table was your humanity. Because in the end, the truest measure of a person's character is how they treat those who can never repay them. That's the kind of legacy worth building. One not written in headlines, but in hearts. Wishing you strength, peace, and the courage to live with kindness every single day. And don't forget to subscribe to Mindset Daily for more powerful insights like this. Stay healthy, stay happy, and keep growing forward.